on in, everybody. Morning. Today is our third and final day to go out and listen to members of the Swannanoa community in our We the People project with Spirit in Action. Think about your previous 2 visits out in the community, particularly as it relates to the skills you've been learning. Your listening skills, your clarifying skills, your reframing skills. And as you think about previous interviews that you've had in the community, when you've been done, have you thought, oh, I wish I would have asked that question? So think about those kinds of, what did you wish you had asked the last time you were out?
So We the People working together came out of an awareness that I began to have that in a lot of the civic engagement process and voter engagement, that low-income white people, working-class white people were not being involved except as they were reached by the Tea Party and other extremists like that. And so coming from that background and having organized that community in a multiracial way, I wanted to really experiment and see if we could bring those folks in to get involved in civic participation and be involved in things that they cared about. But in order to do that, we needed to start out by listening to them, not trying to tell them how they should think or what they don't know, but really listening to what they had to say, what they thought about the community and government, as well as their own lives.
Go talk to our friends and neighbors in Swannanoa. Have fun.
My name is TK. I'm from Swannanoa, North Carolina. I went to school here. I go to college here. I've lived here all my life.
The neighborhood we're going to, that's the site where the blanket company burned down, right?
Beacon.
Is it that big empty lot with the fence around it?
Yeah, that's where it was. My family worked there. Everyone worked there. White and black, they worked together. The Swannanoa community to me is working class people. Most of them used to work at the Beacon Blanket Company, but it burned down some years ago, so that really took a lot of jobs out of the area.
The interesting thing about Swannanoa is you have some pretty high-end, like this, like Craggy View cottages. Those are over $200,000. You'll see right up the road, there's very small trailers that I would consider most likely very low income. So you have these pockets of what I would consider possibly poverty, very in close proximity to very high-end housing developments.
And so in this case, we worked with Warren Wilson College with juniors who were social workers, and went out into the communities and talked to low-income people about their concerns, their wishes, and it's been this powerful
some ideas
thing.
About, like, she was interested in, let me make sure I wrote it down, Community Watch program. You saw me write that down. Yep, Community Watch work. We've been knocking on doors and introducing ourselves, saying really just that we're students working on a project to listen. We've been calling it a listening project, asking people really what they care about living in their communities, what they love about where they live, struggles they might be having, things they might want to change, points that people could gather together on. We've been taking some notes, and a lot of people have been really kind in allowing us to follow up with them.
This is Danny and this is Leah. We're students. We're working on a project called We the People Working Together.
I really respected the social work major, the emphasis on work learning, service learning, and then in the classroom learning. And it seemed like the strongest social work program that I could find.
We're students and we're working on a project called We the People Working Together.
Swannanoa has been a place of communities that have stayed the same for a long time. A lot of the people in Swannanoa stay where they are, and I talked to one man who had been living in Swannanoa his whole life in the same house that we visited him at, and he really valued all of the neighbors that he had because they'd been there for a long time. And a lot of the changes came when people started moving away and then new people came in. So community in the sense of Swannanoa is really about the people and about staying connected to each other, and it's really hard to do that when people are moving away.
With this project, we are kind of trying to talk to generally white working class people and get their perspective, and coming from Cleveland, my perception of poverty is a lot different than poverty in rural Appalachia, and I kind of had to talk to my partner about how it was affecting me because it was so hard to just honestly see how people are living, and it's not my place to judge how they're living, but it's very different from how I grew up.
I would say that in being from the South, there's a lot of things that you learn, there's a lot of things you pick up on that kind of reserve you sometimes. We went to a neighborhood and, you know, I walked into a yard and we went and knocked on the door and no one came to the door. And as we were exiting, I looked and there was a rebel flag on a sticker on the back of the car in that driveway. And for my partner, who is a white female, I don't think it really registered to her, but for me it was like, whoa, thank God they didn't come to the door. Like, because rebel flags in the South, it's like, oh, you might not be dealing with somebody very polite to an African American, and that might just be an assumption, but as an African American female, I have to take that caution.
We feel it's really important to bring in the understanding of race from the very beginning, and actually help the students understand how to deal with that, because we do send them out in multiracial teams, but when someone does make a racist comment, we begin to be able to help them know how to talk to that, speak to that, as well as the other student how to be a white ally in that situation in very loving ways. Our idea of this project is how to reach poor people in general, but in particular this missing gap that we hold in our progressive movement of not speaking to poor white people.
Swannanoa isn't very diverse, so my experiences living here are different from others because I am a young black female living in a 98% white population. Most of my experiences have been good. I mean, I have experienced racism, racial slurs, and that sort of thing.
I was wanting to hear the needs of the community and just people in this area. So, do you have a few moments for us to talk?
Sure, you want to speak with them while I do this with you? Thank you.
How are you? So you guys are planting out?
So do you have any issues with Swannanoa in your community right now?
Do I? Let's see. Yeah, the drugs. People littering.
It was nice to know that we both went to the same school, so that was cool.
Yeah.
I really loved how she said, I'm a Southern, not a redneck, because I think a lot of people who aren't from the South get that confused, and that makes me so angry. I'm like, no, not a redneck, I'm Southern.
Yeah.
Don't
I like
get
how
those
she
confused.
mentioned mountains too, because we've got that a lot that's come up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's beautiful here.
Yeah.
And she also talked about littering, which is something that our other interviewee talked about as well. So we're starting to see a lot of common themes.
Yep.
All right, you ready to move on to the next one? Okay.
Now I'm too old to change, and I'm too young to die, and there's no place to go for my old man and I. And the only tune I hear is the sound of the wind as it blows through the town. Weave and spin